A short while ago, Paramount put in an increased renewed bid to acquire Warner Brothers. And more importantly, just last night, Netflix declined to put in another offer of their own, apparently bringing the bidding war over Warner Brothers to an end, with Paramount being the victor. Now, this is the lesser of two evils here, for if Netflix acquired Warner Brothers, it would ravage it. It would absolutely destroy it. DC would somehow be in even worse hands than Warner Brothers, and WB has actively undermined DC at every turn, with the singularly worst decisions at every step of the way. WB has demonstrated a genuine actual hatred of DC, and Netflix would still be worse, whereas Paramount, at the very least, there is the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. There is the opportunity and the option rather than just guaranteed hellfire. Although, it being the lesser of two evils is not necessarily even still a good thing. As Discussing Films has put down a nice little list of... oh boy, that is a lot of television right there. That's a lot of production companies right there. Far too much, by any reasonable definition. If we were living in a normal, sane world, then the FTC would be rushing to block this with the speed of greased lightning motivated by a methamphetamine erection. But I have long since learned that we do not actually live in sane and/or reasonable times, so I actually think this is still probably going to go through, even though it should never be allowed to. This is blatantly going to be an extraordinarily anti-competitive move that will hand far too much power into the hands of Paramount. This is why we invented legislation to stop the random merger of mega-corporations. But hey, at this point in the US, it's gone this far, might as well just bear it out to the end and see what happens, huh? But okay, let's talk a little bit more about the specifics of what's going to happen now. First and foremost, James Gunn is going to be strapped to a rocket and fired into the sun. In fact, I would highly urge the new lords of WB to make sure that he also takes with him every script, every test idea, every piece of concept art, every page you can find, every costume created, whatever, it doesn't matter. Load it all onto the same rocket and shoot it into the sun. It is the only way you can guaranteeably get rid of the curse of James Gunn upon WB, as I genuinely do believe the man has put a spell on the entirety of the DC franchise. And this is coming from a man as well who genuinely believes the latest Superman movie wasn't that bad. He was on the right track, very much so, but a string of blatantly poor decisions along with James Gunn's marketing, which near single-handedly, in my opinion, sunk that movie. Well, it piled up the bad decisions so far that the good elements couldn't possibly overcome them, but that's not all they're going to acquire. Star Trek, Gremlins, Beetlejuice, DC Comics, Tom and Jerry, Harry Potter, Citizen Kane, Transformers, A Quiet Place, Looney Tunes, The Conjuring, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, Dora the Explorer, Mission Impossible, The Lord of the Rings, SpongeBob, Avatar, The Last Airbender, etc., etc. The question then becomes, what are they going to do with it? Okay, so this is where we are kind of a little bit in the dark. Whereas we know that Netflix would destroy it with endless race swaps and other nonsense, what about Paramount? Well, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is... This is an interesting example right here, because Strange New Worlds Season 1 was... not necessarily the worst thing in the universe. I would argue the Season 2 was a hell of a lot worse, but if you take the New World formula and apply it to DC, a very recognizable format, not really taking any risks, not really going above and beyond or anything, just trying to deliver a show that kind of studiously attempt and successfully appeals to everyone, with some old returning characters, some actually attractive females, God help us all, along with some absolute uggos for the modern day audience. It sort of kind of works in a hedging your bets sort of way. Worse things could happen to DC, frankly. We've got things like Tulsa King, which is excellent, by the way, really fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And Mobland, again, also absolutely amazing. If there's one thing that Paramount apparently does well, it's crime shows like this. And so, you know, I would kind of suggest that with like things like DC, maybe focusing on the villains some more. The Penguin, that was great, right? Maybe do some of the Joker, see if you can redeem him from the other disaster film around him. Or some of the other villains, Legion of Doom, mayhaps? You've got options. Make it a bit more of a rooted criminal style of setting, and let the heroes just rest for a bit, because they need it. At the one point, we've had too much of them and too little at the same time. The superhero genre just kind of needs a little bit of a reset right now, honestly. You've got The Landman, another excellent show, absolutely. The Arc animated series was... Okay, so this is kind of an example of their, like, animation chops, and animation-wise, it wasn't bad, but it was very woke. Not particularly interesting, not very fun. It was a decent kind of memory lane of Arc in its own way, so not the worst thing that could possibly happen, but not a great show, and again, leaning far too heavily into the politics side of things. SEAL Team, excellent action series, and, then we gotta address the elephant in the room, because a lot of this, of course, doesn't really have much to do with DC at all, although I would say yet again that supposed Amanda Waller show they were planning, but have since, I think, cancelled? Listen, Amanda Waller, Spec Ops team, random like C, D, E, F tier supervillains each time, going in on Spec Ops missions, seeing who comes out on top, who wins, who loses, even having the option to have missions fail entirely. You know what? That could actually be pretty fun if you did it in a pseudo sort of kind of semi-realistic way, you know? Am I the only one who's thinking this? I hope not. But then, yes, the elephant tiptoeing its way into the room filled with porcelain. When Paramount has taken on established entities like the Arc the Animated Series or Star Trek, best case scenario, it's been a managed disaster a la New Worlds, whereas Lower Decks was... No, definitely not. Absolutely not. It is a parody during a period of time where we're already not getting the primary product, and a political one as well. And of course, yes indeed, Starfleet Academy, which is an active middle finger to anyone and everyone who has ever even mildly enjoyed the concept of Star Trek. Though, okay, I will levy a brief defense here. Very brief defense, and that is that the core concept of the story actually isn't all that bad. So, listen here. You've got a bunch of young cadets. They are re-establishing a more hopeful type of school, because previously it's just been the war college, right? Now they're trying to lead in a more progressive direction, more hopeful. And you've got a brand new bunch of youths, bushy-eyed and bright-eyed. Bushy-eyed and bushy-tailed. Anyways, wanting to go out into the galaxy and bring back the promises of the old Federation, who then run into nothing but trials, tribulations, and setbacks, including, of course, was it episode 6, where they get captured by a bunch of cannibalistic aliens who threaten to eat their asses out. And one of them even gets killed, not the main cast, of course, and another one gets basically PTSD, which is nonsense because she's a fucking hologram, but details. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, after like 4 or 5 episodes of setup of that kind of naive nature, wanting to go out and fix the world, a brutal come-to-reality moment where, I mean, I would have killed at least one of them, probably her at the very least, maybe him too. That could have worked out very well. Of course, the writers don't have the capacity to do so and are far more interested in putting feet on the screen than any of that, but in theory, there was something there. Which also then brings us to, what has WB got going? Now, Lord of the Rings, you would be insane not to try to do something to do with the Lord of the Rings movie rights. You'd be absolutely mad not to. What was it? They've got Game of Thrones? Do they? Yes, they do. Countless spin-offs, absolutely. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has demonstrated that you have a great amount of potential there. Robert Baratheon's Rebellion, oh god, yes, absolutely. It's one of those things that would be difficult to fuck up, honestly. Mission Impossible, always a nice little cash cow, although, Tom Cruise is getting all the years. Transformers, you've got opportunities there. Harry Potter, another guaranteed seller. They've got a lot of very good stuff here. Avatar, yeah, maybe. But DC is one of the ones that have the most of the stuff on the docket, right? And I kind of been all of this. The Superman movie, the next one, get rid of it. Clayface, no. I mean, I kind of already said they should pivot towards villains, so maybe, but Clayface. Of all of the villains, Clayface. I've got this sneaky suspicion that the script on this is either going to be artsy-partsy nonsense, or something about trying to fit into a society that rejects you, or something like that. Something more political again. A Man of Tomorrow, drop it, straight up. The Authority, drop it. The Brave and the Bold, if done correctly, a story about Batman as a father figure could do extraordinarily well if you lean into a more classical Batman, but I have zero faith that is what's going to be the actual original script. Swamp Thing, again, kind of Untitled Teen Titans film, probably not. Batman, Bane and Deathstroke, maybe. Again, I do believe the villains might be a good idea for Paramount right now. Dynamic Duo, which is apparently the rising story of a couple of Robins. Untitled Justice League movie. Lanterns. All of this feels like it's ill-timed right now. All of this basically is supposed to come off the back of a successful Superman movie, and it wasn't a successful Superman movie. Honestly, at this point, I genuinely actually bring back the Snyderverse, release the whatever bullshit cut people are asking for now as a sign of goodwill. Just put it out there and be like, listen, we are actually going to try, give us your feedback, we're going to try to appeal to you, we're going to spend a few years building up our own universe, beginning from very basic ground levels, and then establish the characters via those ground level shows. Like, a show like The Penguin would be a perfect opportunity to actually introduce some bigger characters, or Waller, for example. Have them discuss the heroes, have them build them up, have them recreate the mythos, maybe even do some slightly crazy twists on them, which could be simple mythology. Have us witness the villains beginning to figure out who these heroes are, what they do, how they tick, and how they've changed the game. Begin with, like, the Penguin, again, in some sort of basic gangster-esque farce, and then beginning to hear rumors about the Batman, you know? Build up the mystique around them, and only reveal them much later on when they've actually got impact. As this is what Snyder had failed to do with the Justice League movies. He didn't give the individual characters enough legs to really stand together in a combined epoch. He instead relied upon each one of the pieces to combine together in a greater whole without defining the pieces themselves adequately. Honestly, I really do believe that a good villain focus would be nice. Blue Beetle, scrap it. Green Lantern, scrap it. DC superpowers, Starfire, all of this, scrap it. Mr. Miracle, maybe, because he's a lesser-known character. I would construct a brand new universe from the ground up here, because the James Gunn universe has already, in essence, failed. And go with lower stakes. Again, villains. Do things that it doesn't really matter if you get them wrong. If you fuck up a movie about, well, a movie or a TV series about Scarecrow, that's not going to be anywhere near as bad as if you fuck up a Superman movie. get your bearings first. Plant your feet. As Paramount, again, it knows how to produce some absolutely fantastic stuff here and there. It also knows how to produce some aggressively mediocre shit, and some actual absolute garbage as well. So, at the end of the day, unlike Netflix, which we know would absolutely be a disaster for DC in particular, and most of the roster in general, as you would get a very diverse Lord of the Rings, you just repeat the errors of Rings of Power, guaranteeably. Same with Game of Thrones as well. Already House of Dragon is falling into this goddamn fucking trap. That and the fucking colors, oh god, everything is filmed in the dead of night. Whereas Paramount is still a bit of an unknown in this regard. Their track record is... it's difficult to draw firm conclusions out of, other than that they at least appear capable in certain regards. Whether that translates into the potential vision to cast people and hire writers to make other things, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, DC, who knows, but... if this goes through, and again, I pray it does not, mind you, as the actual ideal solution to this is, as I mentioned previously, some sort of public auction. Take Warner Brothers and sell them off fucking piecemeal, one entity at a time, one character at a time. Literally farm out Superman as an individual IP, giving an opportunity to new people to actually come up and buy one of these established settings. It would be infinitely fairer, and it would be infinitely less damaging overall to entertainment than handing this much to one company. As again, this... oy. I mean, again, I'm of the opinion that Paramount shouldn't be allowed to exist in its current state, never mind this absolute fucking monstrosity. But, again, it is the current year, and so I'm pretty sure it will actually be allowed to go through. We just gotta kind of make the most out of it. Do let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think I'm being optimistic? I think I'm being optimistic. Or do you think they might still stop it? God, I just don't see it happening, but it sure would be fantastic if it happened. And what do you think about the villains stuff? Because really, I think we need to lay off on the heroes a little bit until they can actually be given some justice and some build-up. Again, we all know who Batman is, so you could just pump out another one and just have like, listen, you know who he is, we're not going to need to tell you a story here, but I think that's the error. Tell us the story. Build your universe at an initial level, rather than simply going, well, it's Batman. You know who Batman is. I know, and I have very, very specific expectations for who Batman is. Expectations that in all due likelihood you are not going to be willing to or able to live up to. Anyways, until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.